some people don't like to talk to people, you know? Hey, it's Walter here, and you're at the Think Profit podcast, where we're going to help you develop a rock-solid trading confidence and avoid the potentially endless cycle of system switching. Right, Hugh?
That's right. We're going to help you develop a wealth mindset, develop a trading strategy that fits your core personality, and help you overcome the obstacles that stop over 90% of traders.
All right, Hugh, sounds good. You ready to go?
Yeah, let's do this. Hey, Walter, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on talk therapy and how that helps people through, certain psychological roadblocks or whatever.
When you say talk therapy, you mean like talking to someone?
Yeah,
like
so you go to your therapist and then you just sit down on the couch and all that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing that I found really fascinating, like when I was learning about psychology and stuff in university. Do you know that one of the biggest things that you go and talk to someone about is depression, right? When I was going through university, they had drugs for this sort of thing, but I don't think it was at the acceptance level. I don't think it took a big portion of the treatment. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that as a large percentage of the population, maybe I'm wrong, but I think maybe it's just the world that I was in, but a lot of people would go and talk to a therapist, right? If they were depressed. Whereas today, I think even in psychology, I don't know if it's true, but they were pushing for some psychologists to be able to prescribe drugs just as psychiatrists could for years. Because psychologists could never do that, right? And I don't know if that ever got anywhere, but I remember, 20 years ago where that was what they're trying to do. They're trying to get it to a point where certain psychologists could prescribe drugs. Now, depression is one of the big ones that depression and anxiety are the two big ones that people go to see a therapist for. And they've done studies on depression and these talk therapies, as you say, right? And what's interesting is it actually didn't matter the theoretical orientation of the psychologist or the therapist. So there's all these different theories, right? Like people have heard of Freud, but there's other ones like cognitive behavioral, which is a lot like in pop psychology, you'll get a lot of cognitive behavior where they're like trying to get you to quickly change your thinking, and that will therefore change your behavior. So that's a lot. Talk radio or like TV, you'll see that a lot. There's also humanistic, where it's almost like when you go to humanistic therapy, it's almost like they're just trying to get you talk as much as you can. And they're just trying to reassure you and like get you to open up. It's almost like a lot of the tell me more, and that's interesting. How does that make you feel? They just keep like you know what I mean? And so it's fascinating, I find, that it doesn't really matter if your therapist is Freudian or humanistic or cognitive behavioral or whatever. It seems like they're all about the same in terms of effectiveness. If you look at studies where they had people go through really traumatic life events, it's usually the ones that go and talk to someone and the family or the community that talks about what happened rather than just kind of brushing it aside. Those are usually the ones that do the best. I think it's useful. And in terms of trading, having someone that you talk to every week about your trades, about your feelings, about having a trading accountability partner, that's extremely useful. So I think in terms of from a trading point of view, I think it's great. It's a great use of your time. So you can do all you want with hypnotherapy and all that stuff and subliminals and all that, but having someone to talk to about your trading, even if it's a non-trader, I think can be really helpful. Or writing it out in a journal, like I'm talking about writing about your feelings about your trading and how things are going, rather than the technical details of every individual trade. So more of a big picture sort of thing. So no, I think it can be very useful. I think it can get a bad rap sometimes. People will say things about therapy that for certain things, or there's bad publicity. Certain therapists might do crazy things or whatever. But I think overall the data is pretty good. Like I think it's pretty good, and I think just having, like I said, it's hard. I mean, trading is a lonely thing, and so having other people to talk to about it, I think is really useful for a lot of traders. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, totally. I don't have a lot of experience with that kind of thing, but yeah, I think from personal experience, talking to another trader is definitely good because nobody else in your life knows what you're talking about. I think a lot of people, especially in our modern culture, like they shove their emotions down. So I think talking about it is definitely helpful. At a certain point, you have to kind of say, okay, is this working as well as it did in the beginning? And if not, maybe I should try something else. Because I know some people who have gone to therapists for 10 years, and they're kind of at the similar spot they were in the first 6 months. So that's something to consider too. But yeah, I think it's helpful overall to talk about things.
Yeah, some therapists, that's their design, right?
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
the Freudians, they kind of want you to go through this huge process that takes years, and they'll
mm,
tell you, yeah, it's just like you go to some chiropractors and they'll be like, well, it's going to take 15 sessions. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah,
they're like, oh, okay, it's good marketing for them, like, okay, you can't just come in once and I'm going to crack your back and you're all good. We gotta really work on this, sort of.
yeah, yeah. And
So
sometimes it's
yeah.
true, but
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No,
yeah,
no, no. If you believe the Freudian thing, or if you believe in in what the chiropractor is telling you, yeah, exactly. I mean, there's reasons for what they say. But the cynical people like can say, oh yeah, you're going to a Freudian. Well, to get to the point of what's called transference,
mm,
it could take decades. You know what I mean? Like
mm,
literally.
mm.
I mean, is your therapist going to live that long for you to get to the point? Like if you have an older therapist, you got to start doing the math. Like, you know what I mean? Am I gonna have to am I gonna have to go to a new therapist before I get to the point? So
I think it's
it's
also on
crazy.
you to like research all the modalities, right? And kind of see what to expect and look at people's experience with those things and say, hey, okay, I'll try this. If it's not going to work, maybe I'll try this. And this is the average time that those people seem to get results. And just kind of not take their word for it at face value.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and our friend Adam, he knows the tapping thing.
Oh yeah, the EFT.
Yeah, EFT, emotional freedom technique, or whatever it's called. That thing that he talked about at the London conference, that was cool. Like, some people can try that.
Mhm.
That's kind of one of the quick fix sort of things like that. But I would never say to someone that you need to talk to someone because that's the best thing to do. It's more about what works for you. Like you might find that EFT or subliminals or whatever. But I think just in general, it can be useful.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people don't like to talk to people. you know
That's true.
so I mean, you gotta that's true. They're out there. Some people don't they're not, they could take it or leave it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I think overall it's definitely something to consider. If you're considering it, it's probably a sign that you should definitely do that. And again, it doesn't have to be a professional. It could just be a trading buddy or someone that knows that you trade or whatever.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Walter.
Thanks.
All information in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not trading or investment advice.